live on TikTok, and I'm with my dear brother and friend, Sundown, also known as Sid Austin. And today we're going to talk a little bit about his life and his journey, and he is a master historian of Native American Indian culture, not just in Oregon, but around the United States. And also he's a Abraham Lincoln historian. So we're going to talk about a couple things. I'm going to talk about his book. And first, I'm going to read from something Abraham Lincoln wrote. It was not the mere matter of separation of the colonies from the motherland, but that sentiment in the Declaration of Independence which gave liberty not alone to the people of this country, but hope to all, the world for all future time. Abraham Lincoln. How'd I do on that?
And I think that's beautiful.
Okay. So
we will talk about the Emancipation Proclamation pen, and I will hold it up here while he's talking about it. Tom's going to read what Lincoln did with this pen, or a pen like this. This is not the original one. The original one's Massachusetts Historical Society has it. And it note steel point. It's a beautiful point. But he was holding this pen, and Tom's going to read what was written about him signing the Emancipation Proclamation and his belief in what he was doing.
And before I do that, all you people joining up, thank you very much. Please hit your like button, share button, anything to help us get our little message of history out today to the world. Appreciate that. Thank you, folks. And I'm going to read Emancipation Proclamation pen. The roll containing the Emancipation Proclamation was taken to Mr. Lincoln at noon by Secretary Seward and his son Frederick. As it lay unrolled before him, Mr. Lincoln took a pen, dipped it in ink, moved his hand to a place for the signature, held it a moment, and then laid it down. After a little hesitation, he again took up the pen and went through the same movement as before. Mr. Lincoln then turned to Mr. Seward and said, "I have been shaking hands since 9 o'clock this morning, and my right arm is almost paralyzed. If my name ever goes into history, it will be for this act, and my whole soul is in it. My hand trembles when I sign the proclamation. All who examine the document will say, he hesitated."
But he didn't. It's beautiful, and I've looked at it, and it's solid as a rock.
So there's a little bit about Abraham Lincoln. I think all of us think we know a lot about Abraham Lincoln, but there's probably a lot of little stories and things, and then, just living life we forget. And Sundown and I are going to remind you guys today of that part of our history, and hopefully get into some of...
Well, Tom, let me tell them about... see this beard I have, folks? I've had it for about a year, maybe 2 years, and this is the second one I've had. Abraham Lincoln grew his beard in 1860, and a young lady, I have the document and picture, there's a heroic bronze of her and Lincoln, and she's the gal that wrote him a letter and said, you'd look more better if you'd grow a beard. I thought that was pretty wonderful that he did that.
Well, Sundown, you have a good-looking beard going there. It needs to be a little longer if you want to get it like Lincoln's.
Yeah, I have to work on it.
Yeah, so once again, everybody, please like this video so we can get a few more people on here, and also share it and comment. If you want to join us, we are open to that. We will add you in, and we will talk with you if you have any questions as we go along today. And we'll probably be here about another 20 minutes to 30 minutes or so, and Sundown's going to share his process of writing his book and what that's going to be about and where he's at with it and what it's about, etc. And hopefully we'll get that to a publisher and you'll be able to buy it and read it someday soon.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to mention here, laying on the table, is a copy of Abraham Lincoln's letter turning down the territorial governorship of Oregon. That happened in 1849, and I believe it was due to his wife. And I might comment on his wife. She was a remarkable woman, and I feel that if she wouldn't have, or he wouldn't have met her and married her, he'd have never pursued being president of the United States. And I just can't imagine that happening.
Wow. Well, behind every great man, there's a great woman, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But I'm very pleased, and I got this copy of his turning it down. It actually was the Oregon Territory. So that took in Washington and Idaho and a whole big chunk of the West. And I think she was a little concerned about Indians and the little wild country out here that we had at that time. So it worked for him, and it cost him his life, though. He sacrificed his life for freedom, and that's pretty remarkable.
Wow.
And a movie that I would like to encourage you to see is not an expensive one. It's a DVD of Raymond Massey. Good morning. Raymond Massey portraying Lincoln, and his sweetheart, the first girl he met in his youth, was Anne from what was it? Springfield?
Springfield, yeah.
Anyway, it was a little area where he lived in 1831. And that kind of messed him up because she passed away. And he lost her, and that was a terrible blow to him because he had lost his mother and his sister, and that went on all the way through his life, losing people he loved.
Do you think Abraham Lincoln's, loss of loved ones and tragedy in his life made him a really empathetic leader and president?
I really believe that Lincoln rose above the tragedies that he dealt with, and it gave him strength. Even though he was crushed when he'd lose certain people, especially his son. And there goes a noisy truck. He was remarkable, and they really worried about him several times when he was dealing with his grief. But he raised above it, and you probably know all about the ending, which was pretty tragic.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like life has some sort of foreshadowing, or people just the experiences we go through and that Lincoln went through kind of added up to where he ended up, in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe even prepared him for such a tragedy in its own crazy way too. So you wanna talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. This is a relative of Abraham Lincoln's. Nancy Hanks was Lincoln's mother, and this man was a fifth generation And I met him. I went back to Anoka, Minnesota, and visited him where his family and children were. And he came out to Eugene in the 80s, and I got to meet him. He was a fifth generation Abraham Lincoln and looked a great deal like Lincoln, and went into schools and talked and shared with the children about Lincoln. So he was a pretty remarkable fellow, and I really enjoyed meeting him. And
Nice.
It just was kind of spooky, like you're running around with Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, I can imagine that. That must have been an honor.
It was a real honor. And
Cool. And once again, everybody, you're with Sundown and Thomas, and we're talking right now a little bit about Lincoln, and we're going to segue into Chief Joseph, the Nez Perce, and Native American Indians, and Sundown's book. But in the meantime, if you could like this, if you've joined, that would help us out a lot to kind of get a little bigger audience going here. Also, if you have any comments or questions, and I see them come up in the, we'll try our best to answer any questions if you want to comment. But liking, sharing helps us a lot. So thank you very much for all of you that have been joining. I've been watching you come on, and there's a lot of you, and thank you for that. And I'll let Sundown continue on with some stories.
Okay, I would like to mention this picture, which would be kind of hard for you to see, I think. But I'm at a statue where they placed it at Gettysburg, where Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address. There never was a picture of him close at that point. There was just a big crowd there, but they did mark the spot, and I felt very pleased to visit there, and I did that when I went back to Washington, D.C. for the bicentennial. I went over there, and that was a special occasion for me.
Now, how does somebody find this spot if they wanted to find it?
Well, you just go to Gettysburg, and it's not hard to find.
Okay,
it's
cool.
Very well marked.
Sweet.
And there's a lot of interesting history there, and of course there's a terrible, terrible battle.
Oh, yeah, horrible battle.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we got somebody. Thank you for the likes, everybody. We need that to keep this thing going. And questions and likes, anything you can send our way, we appreciate and we're grateful for. Oh, here's another one that I'll hold. Okay, go ahead.
This is a picture, an advertisement of probably what I consider one of the greatest movies and documentaries that I have ever seen on Abraham Lincoln and Mary. It's DVD, and it's not a real expensive one. It's reasonably priced. And any of you that have interest in Abraham Lincoln, I know if you haven't seen it, you sure need to see it, because you'd really enjoy it. And they give you a lot of information on him.
Beautiful. Abraham and Mary Lincoln. A House Divided, a film by David Grubin. American Experience. Really cool.
And also I wanted to show you this, which is National Geographic, of course. And you can find used ones, you know, at Goodwill or St. Vincent de Paul or a thrift store or even a bookstore. There's a lot of great pictures in this particular book of Abraham Lincoln and this article on him. And I think that came out about on the bicentennial of his birthday a few years ago.
Nice. So this is Lincoln looking for his legacy today. This was April 2015, National Geographic.
All right, this way, love.
There you go.
Okay.
So, anything else you want to show before we move on to some?
I think I'm going to close out with this and this. anybody interested in this eagle, this was the eagle named after Abraham Lincoln. It was carried as a mascot for 3 years by the 8th Regiment of Wisconsin. And I have quite a collection of the story, a portfolio on it, and it was a magnificent situation. I even wrote Disneyland asking them to do a movie about this eagle, but they turned me down.
Well, if anybody's out there and wants to make a movie about this eagle, I think Sundown is ready and willing to help and participate in that.
Absolutely.
And he knows everything there is to know about it.
And I could be very helpful with the history of it.
Okay, there you go.
And one last book. I have probably 200 or 300 books, but I chose this one to show you because there's documents in it of Lincoln's, and it's just a magnificent documentary book and read. So take a long, hard look at it, and Tom will tell you who it is and what it's about, by who.
This is Lincoln, An Illustrated Life and Legacy by Thomas F. Schwartz. I like his name, Thomas.
Yeah,
right. This book contains rare, removable facsimile documents of historic importance. That's the book. That's what the book's about.
Just perfect for a student or something in school.
There you go. Okay. So once again, you're with Thomas and Sundown, and we're talking about, we started off this live with talking about Lincoln and just sharing some books and pictures and photographs with you, just to remind you of our late President Lincoln, and what an amazing human being he was, and the times he lived in. And but we will continue on with some more stories with Sundown. But first, if a lot of you joined and a couple of you gave us some likes, please like to help us expand the audience today. And if you have any questions, I've been looking in the comments. We'll answer them to the best of our ability. And if anybody wants to join us live, feel free, and we'll add you on, and we'll talk to you live on air. And so Sundown's now going to kind of segue into talking about what he's doing with his life right now, and a book he's writing and what it's about, and kind of where he's at with that. There you go, Sundown.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to tell you all that I was born here in Eugene. This is Junction City, where we're visiting you. And I've been here for about 1.5 years now. I'm in a government-type home, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm doing a book that tells the full story about the Nez Perce Indian people, as well as other Indian people. I have a real love of the Indian people, and it spans from 1980 until recent time, telling about what happened to him, Chief Joseph, young Chief Joseph, a fabulous human being. And he, in my book, he rates right there with Lincoln for having patience and humble, and wasn't full of hatred, like some people end up being, and I can't say I blame them sometimes for the things they do. It's just going to be magnificent, and it's going to be about 225, 250 pages with colored pictures, letters, documents, and I've been involved since the year of the Eagle, 1982, with the Nez Perce. And I think it's going to touch some hearts, and I'm a charter member of the National Museum of the American Indian, and they gifted me with Jackson Sundown's name. In case you're not acquainted with him, he was a nephew of Chief Joseph. He was 15 years old when Joseph headed for Canada eventually, trying to get his people away from harm. And he was shot 3 times by the cavalry when they saw him trying to escape. But he did escape and got up with Sitting Bull and stayed with him for about 2 years, they figure, and came into the United States. And he was a great deal like Chief Joseph. He wasn't full of hatred and things, but he really suffered for a time, and became a world champion. And he's the only one, they tell me, that's in the National Cowboy Hall of Fame as a cowboy. And he
An
won,
Indian cowboy. Imagine that.
Indian cowboy, and he won a beautiful saddle from Hanley, which is in Pendleton. And it's just a fantastic story, and both of them are going to be in that book that I'm doing.
Yeah, so if any of you are watching now, please like this broadcast and share it. 'Cause we're talking, and don't scroll past. Today we're learning something. We're learning about Abraham Lincoln, and we're learning about the Nez Perce Indians in Oregon and other Native American people, and we're learning about Sundown's quest to finish a book. And if any of you want to help him with his book, or you have historical information that might be useful for him, please leave me a message in the comments with your name and number, or some way I can reach you, and I'll make sure that you get Sundown's phone number so you can talk to him about it. So we do welcome any help with his book we can get. And Sundown, so where are you with the book right now? About how far out are you before you're complete, ready to get it to publisher?
I'm almost to the point of where I have to organize. And
Hold on one second. We got a train going by.
yeah,
I'll have to re-ask that
they're
question.
rude. They don't embarrass themselves.
Yeah, but it's part of the Old West is trains. I wonder if it's I hope it's not a real big one. Once it goes by, though, it'll quit blowing its horn.
Yeah, we hope.
Hear that? That's America.
Oh yes,
That's a train going right through the middle of Junction City.
yes.
And we got our dog here. She's Freya. She doesn't like this. It's kind of bumming her out.
We apologize for that.
Just hang tight, everybody. But as you're joining, please like, please follow. I'll follow back always, of course. And if you're interested in Sundown's life and want to help him with his quest in his life as a historian to gather information for his book on the Nez Perce or Native American Indians, please contact me in my messages and let me know, and I will get you in contact with Sundown. Sundown's also known, he was born Sidney Austin. That's his name you might find him under if you ever Google him or something in newspaper articles, but he was gifted the name by the Nez Perce Historical Society, the name of Jackson Sundown. And I, of course, his brother and friend, I'm only going to refer to him as Sundown because I just love that name and it fits him perfect. And I think, okay, so where are you at with that book? I think that horn's enough in the background. We can talk about it.
Okay, well, the book, people are going to be astounded. I collected pictures for years and years, and some of the most beautiful pictures. And the book is going to be titled Indian Love Call. And I think that's going to touch a lot of hearts, and it should. It was a fabulous little fella in his full regalia. In '95, I took that picture in Joseph at their Indian dance. And I was so pleased with it that I gifted several people with that picture as a portrait. And it will be on the cover, hopefully.
No, it will be.
Finished.
That's great. Congratulations. That's really a great accomplishment. I'm really proud of you for taking the time in your life and your passion to write this book is really, really special to me, and I hope it's going to be special to whoever gets to read it.
Thank you so much for your help and your appreciation.
Sure. And tell me, Sundown, there was a train going by, so if you're tuning in, don't scroll by, please join us. We're trying to share some knowledge with you about Abraham Lincoln and the Nez Perce Indians of Oregon, and also other Indian tribes in the nation. And I'm going to ask Sundown a question right now, maybe you guys would like to ask that have joined and are watching. What's a good place for young people or people curious, or a good book, I should say, they can learn a good broad overview of Native American history and learn a lot about, something that's accurate and realistic?
Well, there's quite a bit out there. There's some really wonderful documentaries. I'll Fight No More Forever, of course, was a Hollywood production. It's not the kind of detail that I personally appreciate. However, it's well done. It has Sam Elliott in it, and he does a great job as Lieutenant Wood. And I really, I was working at Lane Community College when that movie was released, and they sent us a poster and information about it. And I have those things. I kept the poster, and I got to frame it one of these days. I didn't ever frame it, but I will.
Sam Elliott, what a great actor. And matter of fact, he lives right around here, doesn't he?
He has a home not too far from here, this being Junction City, near Brownsville, Oregon. And he has a ranch, and it's quite a pretty place. It's kind of off the beaten path, but I've driven by, and matter of fact, I've written Sam and asked him to contact me, because I really would like to visit with him and talk to him about doing a movie on Chief Joseph or Jackson Sundown, or both of them. Yeah. And I have contacted Wes Studi and asked him to help me with a movie honoring Chief Joseph and Jackson Sundown. And if you folks, any of you know these people, you can get a message to them. Let them know that I would really appreciate talking to them about that, and I would help them in any way possible.
That's amazing. Cool. Well, I have talked to a few people around town here when I come visit my sister in Sundown, and Sam Elliott does come into the Safeway here in town from time to time.
Yes.
So
yes.
Keep an eye out for him there, Sundown. You might be able to talk to him in person. So what other wonderments? So what's on your agenda? You got any traveling plans in the next year to go see some Indian tribes or celebrations or ceremonies, anything like that?
At this time, my priority, and I happen to be 91 years old, my something happens to me and I can't finish it, he'll finish it for me, and I feel that he would be faithful to it.
What's his name?
Nick Knott, N-O-T-T.
Nick Knott.
Name.
Nick Knott. Yeah, his parents were in a pretty jovial mood when they named their kid Nick Knott. Yeah, so Nick Knott, look for that name possibly in the future, or to be part of Sundown's book. Maybe he'll be mentioned in the book for sure.
He's in the book, and he's an archer and makes beautiful bows. He gave me one on one of my birthdays, and he's a remarkable man.
You showed me that bow once, I think. It's beautiful. Yeah. So how about, what would you recommend for people if they're like going on a road trip? Where should they stop in so they could get a feel for Native American life and history and culture? What do you recommend where they go on a road trip and stop in and hang out a little bit?
Okay, make a note in July and go to Tamplick. That's the Wallowas in eastern Oregon. It's a corner of eastern Oregon. where Wallowa's at, and Joseph, the town of Joseph, is about 10 miles on beyond it. They come back every year about the middle of July and put on a magnificent celebration. And they have, they wear the regalia, and they do drumming and singing, and they have a wonderful meal. And it's just a 3-day magnificent get-together.
Nice. You told me about Joseph a year and a half ago when we met, and I too want to get out there to the city of Joseph and go to the museum there you told me about. So
Good.
I think I'm going to make it out there next week or sometime. I'll probably do a live there from there, and I'll mention you, and I'll talk. Maybe some of these people will join in. Again, if you've just joined, I'm with my brother Sundown, and I'm Thomas, and we're on my TikTok channel going live, and I saw quite a few people join us, and a few people liked, and I wish we could get some more likes. And if you can push that like button, that'll be great. If you can share to your friends, that'll be great. I will repost this video in little segments, little stories. I'll do the readings, and so they'll be permanently posted. And then I'll post the whole thing on YouTube, the whole interview, or the whole discussion that we've had today, probably tomorrow. The one we did yesterday is already on YouTube, and 800 people participated in that, and we really appreciate that. And I don't know how many people have participated on the YouTube yet, but I don't get a lot of traffic on my YouTube, but it's there, and I will put up a link, and I will split up this particular live feed today in about 5 or 6 segments, so I can, because I think there's a 10-minute, or I think I have like a 10-minute limit I can do on videos on TikTok. But the lives can go on forever, but you don't get to see them unless I put them back up there somehow. So that's my plan of action. And what other wonderments? So, I've had the opportunity to sit with Sundown for several hours, and we've had him over for Thanksgiving with the family, and at home with the family for dinner, and we hung out a lot at the coffee shop, of course, together, doing interviews. And I can tell you, this man has lived quite an eventful life, and he's lived all over the country, and he spent most of his later years that he's been living on this planet just dedicating himself to get people's awareness and ignite their curiosity on Native American Indian life, and the heroes that these people were, and the things they did, and how American they are, just as much as the rest of the Americans on this planet.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate that. And if you guys want to know more about that, and you want to help Sundown on his quest, please message me, and I will put you in touch with him. If you can help him with documentation, letters, anything. He has tons. I've seen his archives. It's amazing. It's just endless. He's collected everything you can imagine. I mean, right down to replicas of the pen that Abraham Lincoln signed the proclamation with. But if you could help us out, that'd be great.
Tom, let me say a little something about this pen. I collected over 2,000 writing things. And I'm talking about ink vessels, fountain pens, dip pens, beautiful ink vessels. I had like Jefferson used, like Washington used, like John Muir used. I documented all those things, and I just had a collection that was second to none, and I collected it for 25 years. And this Emancipation Proclamation type pen, I only found one in all the years that I collected, the 25 years that I collected writing memorabilia.
Sure is an interesting looking pen. Looks well used. So I think that's about it today, unless Sundown, you have something you want to close with, or
I just want to thank you, and I want to thank the folks that did tune in, and I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to talk about these things, because I do love what I'm doing.
Well, I'm very grateful to have you as my brother, and you get to tell me your stories, and I hang on every word. So that's it, folks. Have a great day. Don't forget the most important thing. No matter where you are, well, no matter where you go, there you are. And it is great to be alive.
Happy trails.
Happy trails, everybody.